Well, this afternoon, the focus is on the Green Ghana agenda. Already some environmental activists this morning staged a protest at vantage point in a crowd within the part of the Echimota Forest Reserve to express their rejection of the declassification of parts of that forest by government. Now, the executive instrument, which was actually passed in May 2022, has actually been rezoned and rezoned parts of the Echimota Forest, removing protection from portions of the green space, which has significance and some strategic importance for the country. Well, these environmental activists have actually been mounting pressure on government to reverse that decision, hence the protest which they've started today. We know that earlier today, government as well launched the Green Ghana Day by planting more trees. We can hear from the sector minister, Samuel Abujinapo, who is actually outlining some more measures to halt the export of rosewood and other timber species.
To enhance carbon stocks and improve the livelihoods of rural communities, we are also aggressively implementing the Ghana Red Plus strategy to ensure that specific ecological zones of our country and their economic activities are linked to sources of climate finance based on their unique drivers of deforestation. Mr. President, in October 2019, you graciously launched the first program under the Red Plus strategy, the Ghana Cocoa Forest Red Plus program, to restore our lost forest cover in the high forest zone, increase cocoa yields, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in February this year, the Vice President launched the Ghana Shared Landscape Emission Reductions Project to, among others, increase the shared tree population in the Savannah Ecological Zone, restore degraded lands, create small and medium enterprises for women in the shared value chain. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, given that we have already lost over 80% of our forest cover since 1900, our second approach to the management of the forest and wildlife resources of our country is an aggressive afforestation and reforestation program to complement the work we are doing to halt deforestation. Between 2017 and 2021, a total of 547,891.7 hectares of degraded forest lands were cultivated under the Ghana Forest Plantation Strategy.
Well, we know that some environmental activists say a lot more needs to be done to actually protect our forest reserves, especially the Echimota Forest area, which was recently declassified by government. So let's hear from some of the protesters this afternoon. Joining us now is Samson Samari, a member of the Eco-Conscious Citizens Group, joins us via Zoom. So it appears that you are almost wrapping up today's activity, and that's why perhaps you're in your car as we speak. But tell us about your concerns, really. Exactly what were you seeking to achieve by protesting in some parts of the Echimota Forest Reserve?
Okay, good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I think this government, they didn't try, though we know today is Green Ghana Day, but though we don't have a slogan for it for today. But I think this is the second year of Green Ghana. While we applaud the government for putting in such a measure for us to do reforestation, we should also call on government as well that you don't use one hand to plant, then you use the other hand to harvest. For instance, today we were at the Echimota Forest, which is very close to the Forestry Commission. And the mission of the Forestry Commission was that sustainably develop and maintain Ghana's forest and wildlife resource. So that is the mission of the Forestry Commission. So if it is for us to maintain and to develop, then when we start to cut the trees, are we not going to cut the trees for us to have a concrete jungles that would rather be thinking of having wildlife? I don't think this is possible, but it's in a bit very shameful and very disheartening that the president, whilst we preach for greener economy and we greening our country, instead of just leaving the concrete jungles all over, was rather pass the EI 144, which seeks to sell or which seeks to give out the peripheral of the Achimota forest for it to be rezoned. It won't be good, and it is not good. When you look at our placards today, as part of our protest, we said the Achimota forest is now the lands of the Greater Accra because we don't have any other big forest apart from the Greater Accra. We've seen that Parks and Gardens is now more or less just a name, something which was a ministry and a cabinet has been brought to a department, and they are not resourcing it. We have the Forestry Commission, which is also the only tool that is under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, which seeks to at least plant trees, develop, and to maintain. That is why every year we have recruitment for Forestry Commission. We have budgetary allocation for Forestry Commission. Their duty and mandate is not to sell out land. I think today when we were there, people applauded us, and what they were saying was that, Achimota Forest has already been sold, so there's nothing we can do. We need to stand up as Ghanaians, as Barack Obama once said, that nothing stands the voice of millions of people calling for change. So it left onto us.
Okay, but then, yes, but the question has come up as to the commitment we're seeing today by government, asking citizens and everyone to join force. I mean, just to try as much as possible to plant a tree. Is that not enough to shore up the numbers that we may lose out of the declassification of the Achimota forest?
Well, brother, there's this Nigeria proverb that says the mere possession of a hammer doesn't qualify one to be a carpenter. Just planting of trees doesn't necessarily mean we are just maintaining and keeping the trees. For instance, last year we planted a whole lot of trees just along the Jifa, I think that's the Elwak to the Trade Fair 37 road. They planted trees there. I think when you go there over the dry season, during the dry season, we saw most of these trees died off. So it's not about planting, but it's about ensuring and to at least maintain. Even if we can't add up, we should rather maintain the existing ones, but not to be planting and be cutting. It is hypocritical that you today plant a tree, tomorrow you would you come out with an executive instrument to cut a tree. It doesn't add up. The tree we are planting today, I will tell you, will not be able to grow up to the trees we are cutting. Like the minister rightfully said during his address, is that we've lost almost 80% of forest cover. So if this is what we are, and if this is what we have noticed, that we are losing our forest cover, then we owe it a duty to stop whatever activity that would lead to a cutting of tree, any activity that would involve we tempering the already existing forestry or the already existing forest. We shouldn't go there. For instance, we all know that mining of bauxite, you can mine, there is no any way in the world that we will say we will mine bauxite in the Atua forest without touching the trees. We all know there's no decent way. So why don't we leave the forest? We as a country, we need to even inculcate that culture in us, that when you are to issue a permit, we should rather be interested in planting trees. You should be given a number of trees to plant before you be given the permit. We shouldn't just be looking at, we are planting trees, and the trees are not adding up. Maintenance of the trees and the survival of the trees are very necessary than the mere sloganeering of planting of trees. For instance,
what would be the next line of action for your group?
Yes, we know at Work Forest, we are in court with it. We, together with other environmental groups, are in court with it. and we will fight it to the last drop of our blood. And we will write petitions. I think we've even started writing petitions to at least appeal to the conscience of the president and to the conscience of all those who matter, to at least help revoke the executive instrument 144 so that we can gain our Achimata forest back. We can at least help to maintain, even if we are not adding up, to maintain the already existing forest. We need the 20%. We know 80% is gone, but we need the 20%.
All right then, Samson Samari with the Eco-Conscious group there. I'm grateful for your time now. The need for children to be aware of environmental issues is crucial for the sustenance of the ecosystem. They help in solving critical issues of the environment. The role that academic institutions such as primary schools play in raising awareness and engaging children has become important more than ever. Recycle Up is therefore empowering some 22 schools nationwide to create environmental awareness by distributing some 1,000 trees among these schools to mark the Green Ghana Day. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah has more in the following report.
The initiative is part of the Recycle Up's nationwide waste education campaign and work. Obentre Akwa is business incubator coordinator.
Well, Recycle Up Ghana seeks to empower the youth, and the best way to go by it is to, help these young ones to be more environmentally conscious. So Recycle Up Ghana, on the nationwide education campaign, decided that as World Environmental Day, we'll come here and then we'll work with them, as St. Louis Jubilee is one of our NWEC schools. So we decided to come here and then participate and support them in their tree planting operations over here.
The patron of one of the schools, St. Louis Jubilee, Kumasi, Edwin Labia Siedu, was happy about the enthusiasm of the pupils towards the exercise. He said they've included fruit trees to enrich the landscape.
Environmental Day for us is a way to keep our environment clean. Okay, look at the campus or look at the school grounds and see what we can do to make the environment better. Okay, so what we've been doing is to plant trees. Over the years, we've planted a lot of trees. If you look around, you see that there are a lot of trees on campus. Then we've been trying to plant grass as well. There are various places where there's already grass, but some of them, the grass is wearing off, okay, because of the use of those places. So we are trying to also plant grasses at those places. And then this year, what we are also trying to add is planting coconut trees. Okay, so a lot of coconut trees. We are trying to bring more fruit trees into the school, okay.
Some of the pupils spoke with JoyNews.
It means a lot to us Ghanaians because we get to grow plants for our country Ghana. Because of some human activities of Ghanaians, our trees and forests have been destroyed. So we come together on the environmental day to plant trees, grasses.
I advise the government to encourage people to do more labor work in terms of planting trees, which will help the environment. Because without trees, there's not much fresh air, especially where I live.
We should practice afforestation because the trees provide us with fresh air. And if there are no trees, when we cut down trees, it also litters the ground, so we shouldn't cut down trees.
The students in Ghana to plant more trees so that we get more fresh air and fruit.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi.
Well, it's time now for us to turn our attentions to politics. Now, the internal contest of the New Patriotic Party is heating up as all candidates aspiring for the national leadership role within the party, the governing party, have less than a month to seek the endorsement of party delegates ahead of a crucial national party conference slated for July 14 this year. Now, even before the dust settles, 4 individuals, as we understand, have declared their intentions to contest the longest-serving General Secretary of the party, John Boydu. So let's bring you a profile of some of the names that we've heard so far. So on your screen now is John Boydu himself, who's seeking re-election re-election. He's the General Secretary of the governing New Patriotic Party and, as indicated there, one of the longest serving in the NPP. Then we also do have some more names. Justin Kondia Frimpong, who's Chief Executive of the YEA. He's also a lawyer, as we know, and we have some more faces in this as well. Charles PCU is a former presidential staffer, former Secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Small-Scale Mining. He's the immediate past, no more the current NPP Western Regional Secretary. So at the time we're doing this, he was the Western Regional Secretary, but now we know that he's the former. And then we have Frederick Opariansa, a four-time Member of Parliament also there, and then Musa Superior as well. But fortunately, we have the man in studio who's seeking the mandate of delegates to become the General Secretary, Charles PCU, joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you, sir. Welcome to the Pulse.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and you've been away for some time.
Yes, I've been around.
Yeah. How's the campaign been for you so far?
It's going well. I mean, we've been interacting with a lot of the delegates, but then per the guidelines of our party, it's only when you pick nominations that you can actually go around and meet delegates.
Officially?
Yes, so I didn't want to be actually going, against the rules of the party. 8 years as the regional secretary, a member of the National Council for 8 years, and the same guidelines of the constitution of the party that I am seeking to be endorsed to protect. I didn't want to be seen as breaking. But now that I have picked my nomination forms, I think then I am free to actually go out there and meet delegates and speak to them.
And it's interesting that you did not seek re-elections as secretary for the NPP in the Western region. What accounted for that decision?
Okay, we're a democratic party. We believe in the rule of law. After 7, 8 years, initially it wasn't my thing to go for the regional secretary. In 2010, I went for the parliamentary primaries in Ahanta West. I lost. And then following the court case in 2012, I sat back and then looked at a lot of things that were happening that we, the New Patriotic Party, a conservative party, so to speak. And then if it gets to, the running of elections, we always fell short of that. And that was evident during the Supreme Court case. So I found a gap there, and I thought that was a gap for me to fill. Then I availed myself for the regional secretary position. I was voted for. I believe that 8 years, it's good. I can actually move up and then actually avail myself there so that others in the region can also take over.
Your incumbent General Secretary, John Boydo, has spoken about some of the names that we've heard, including yours. He says, almost all the names we've seen do not have the requisite experience to take the party into a crucial elections in 2024. What's your... Yeah, exactly his words. What's your response to that?
Okay, he's not the one to determine that, you see. He is the candidate as well. So I would want not to go there, but if he meets delegates and says that, then it's fine. But then everyone who is actually in this contest has something to offer, and I wouldn't actually look down upon it.
Yeah, but by his speaking within the context of the 2024 elections, the fact that he believes this is the time that you need someone who's been tried and tested to lead the party into the 2024 elections.
When
you agree
Obama
with him?
became president of the United States, he wasn't, had he been a president before? But then the Democratic Party won the elections. Macron, you understand? Cameron came in with the Conservative Party at a time where they were actually in opposition when Tony Blair and Gordon Brown was there. So I don't think that is the way to go. I believe that every season has its own leaders. Unique leaders come in at any point in time. You remember, I keep saying this, in 1992, Carl Lewis broke the world record at around 12 seconds. And then we should have said that he's the most experienced person, so we should allow him to run all those years. But then now we have Usain Bolt, who's doing under 10 seconds. So every season has a unique leader. So if the current General Secretary is saying that, yes, he believes in what he can do for them. And I believe that this party believes in democracy, competition of ideas. So that's his take. But then I would...
but you disagree with him?
I disagree with him. But then he has some experience. You cannot,
push that away.
Push that away, no. Every single person contesting this position has something.
So what's your story and what's your experience that you're bringing on?
My philosophy is that we have an inclusive and sustainable collaboration between party and government. You see, Our political party is an efficient one, but I believe that it's not being managed effectively.
Right.
I do not understand why, if you go to a polling station, the number of voters there are not up to 1,000. We have 5 human resource, the polling station executives, electoral area coordinators, and constituency executives managing the constituency. So with that available human resource, you should be able to tell me that in 6 months to an election, we should be able to tell you that we're winning the seats and the reasons behind it or not. I believe that and it should be data-driven.
Right.
The oldest political party, arguably the best political party in this day and age, if you're not able to do that, then we don't have a business being in politics. This party was also brought together by eminent people, but it needs to be modernized.
Right.
The things that we used to do before shouldn't be done now. Yes, you keep some of them, but you modernize them to actually, with the trend of affairs. So I am coming in with the system where I believe that in politics, 3 things I've seen. Okay. The data, personality, and the message. A combination of these 3, when you put them together, gives you results. Let me give you another example. You see a company like Nestle, or any company that produces. How are they able to come up with their corporate strategy and actually increase or decrease production? We have something which was actually led by Chairman McMahon. It's called retail campaigning. You see, with these corporate organizations, ours, the political party, is an unincorporated association. Right. The corporate realm, when they want to increase production, they go to the retailers. Right. And then they said that within our community, yes, I used to actually procure maybe 50 cartons of milk, but the number of people they have actually decreased. So I'm going to take 40, or they've increased. Right. That goes to the district, it comes to the corporate headquarters, and a political strategy is made. That's why I mentioned the polling station and the district, coordinators and all that. They should be able to give us the data to make a political strategy or decision. And that is not being done. It's gotten to a point where it's more like hearsay. Right. So it has to be data-driven. So that one day when I am not there, the next person who comes in can actually tap into that and then use
So you want to build a solid structure for the NPP. Yes. That's what you want to do. Yes. But you're building that on the 3 anchors that you're talking about, including the messaging and the personality.
Data,
so for data, messaging, and the personality. So let's start off from the issue of the messaging.
Okay.
What are you selling to the delegates? And why do you feel that they would, in fact, buy what you're telling them?
The message is not about me.
Right.
No, I'm going in now. It's okay. Let's apply it to the personality. Charles Bisi was the personality. Right. I've been a 2-term regional secretary. What I did there makes me the personality. Am I liked by the delegates? You do a profile of your candidate and see that product or that candidate will be.
But I wanted us to start from the messaging and what you're selling to precisely.
So then you move on to your message.
Right.
The message is what I'm telling you now. My philosophy, the data, personality, and all that, and then I apply it to the given scenario. Once I've done that, then I go in to look at my message, which I have spoken about. Then, so it's personality, data, and the message.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So all this will be driven by the data, because the data that I have collected, if the data doesn't support that personality, backed by the message, it's not good. So it's a combination of the 3. Talking about me, now it's a political party. The political party, I'll take, for example, a constituency.
Right.
What is the message? The message needs to come from the polling station. Why are we in a political party? The contract, the social contract that we signed with them, that travels into our manifesto. For example, in 2016, most of the things that came from the Western region that traveled into our manifesto, i.e. the oil hub, the GMPC operational headquarters, the PT, all of these came from community mining as well. Right. All of these came from the polling stations. And then they came to us, and then we put it together. So then we realized that out of the 26 constituencies, we had 14 rural areas. The same 14 rural areas are mining areas and they're coastal areas. So it needs assessment, okay? That travels to, it becomes your message. Because are you able to satisfy that? The ones you're able to, which are realistic, you tell them. Right. The unrealistic one, you tell them why you cannot do that. So there's a contract there. Then you move on into the realm of actually collecting the data as to how many people are able to actually are in sync with that message. Then you look at the personality. Based on that message or whatever is coming, you look for that personality that will fit in.
What you're doing for Sam may be for long-term benefit purposes, but for delegates who are going to vote for you on the day of the elections, I'm sure that you'd have something to share with them. Because,
okay, so let me see.
Because, yeah,
let me see.
precisely.
You said I was talking.
Because what you're saying, yes, it's fair to hear from the base of the party to know what it is that you need to do if you get elected.
Okay.
But then the election is also staring you in the face. So I'm sure you have a message for the delegates as well, and something that you're selling to them.
So the question you asked me, let's put it for toward the macro bit and the micro bit, talking about myself.
Right.
Okay. So my message is simple. I've mentioned, I said, the party is an efficient one. It needs to be managed effectively. I do not understand why we're not able to put our data together and actually win elections. This political party is here to win laurels. We've been in opposition for 8 years before, and Ghanaians missed us because we are the political party that develops Ghana. So I am availing myself based on what I've done before, and I've seen a gap in there, which that is the party must be managed effectively. Doing that, it is not just me. We have to all come together. But one other thing that I see that within our party, there are too many cliques, and we're not going for competent people. We're going for people who we are liked or are liked by us. And I do not think that's how we organize a political party. So my message is perfect. I mean, simple, to manage it effectively. There are things that I have to say, but I have to tell them to my delegates, because if I sit here and say everything, that
you don't want to disclose everything on
then
TV.
Then will grab it, hook, line, and sinker. Right. And it will be out there. So basically, I'm offering myself to my political party based on what I've done. I've seen a gap. I believe that it needs to be managed effectively. When I speak to them, I go to speak to them. I know they would understand where I am coming from.
You were challenging the notion about likability and how it's taking a central stage within your party. But obviously, you pointed that out in the 3 pillars that you identified as key in running this campaign, which is the personality. Do you feel that the delegates are comfortable going ahead to endorse you?
No, you see, I do not have to. That's why I said there's macro and micro.
Right.
If it's me, I do not have to talk about my personality. Right. You see, sometimes people are going for an election and then on their poster they write humble. You are not the person to determine whether you're humble or not.
Yeah, but you know yourself.
No, so I would tell the people what I will have to say based on the data and the message.
Yeah, but Charles, I mean, a lot of people who argue with you on this basis that you know yourself, you know what it is that you can offer.
Yes.
So it's not as though you are putting yourself out there in a certain way that you're not, particularly when you know yourself.
I don't, you see, I do not want to sound boastful because you see, one thing, you see, let me go macro. You see, our economy is in turbulence now. We've done so many things as a political party and government. Now, I keep saying that you might have the best a PhD certificate, but if you do not have humility and the way you come across, you will not be given a job. Where an SSS graduate will come in with that certificate, by the way you present it. So I do not want to sound so boastful. I want to actually people to judge me by what I am saying, and then through that I am consistent, and then that goodwill built. So that then there's a relationship for them to work for me. You get it? So if you're saying that, if I know that I'm liked by people, I think they have to determine.
Yeah, but you know about the fact that there are some party members who perhaps may not know how deep-rooted you are in the tradition and what it is that you've contributed towards the gains of the party, for instance.
That's contained in my message.
Yeah, but some obviously do not have the benefit of knowing about that.
Yeah, so I've done 8 years as regional secretary. That's a fact.
That was just in the Western region. There are some delegates who may be coming out of the area.
Staffer.
Yeah, definitely.
I became a presidential staffer, so I'll be measured by that as well. So if you look at it, I set up the MPP Northampton I was a chairman for MPP Northampton in the UK. I'll be judged by it. So these are data and stuff that you put together and it becomes your message. And then I'm saying that I am going out there to preach to them, tell them how we manage our political party. And don't forget that these are not people who are voting for the country. It is an internal political party thing. So when I talk to them, I believe that they can come out and say, no, I am an officer of the party. He wants to be an officer of the party. From what he's told me, I can work with him to achieve whatever we are doing. Then we build a relationship to work together. So it's mainly a working relationship. So if I want to sit here and talk about data, personality, and all that, I'll talk about data, and then I'll talk about messaging, but I'll not talk about personality. I want them to determine that for me.
But you're just talking about the fact that a lot will come to play in terms of how you've delivered over the years. Are you in a position to assess yourself, the various capacities you've served in. For instance, you were a former presidential staffer.
Yes.
Would you say you've delivered on,
yes.
on the appointment that was given to you?
Based on the fact that if it's an appraisal, right. You look at what you did,
right.
the mandate that you were given. So if you actually stuck to your mandate, then you've achieved. There are key performance indicators, pertaining to that.
Right.
Being the regional secretary, there were key performance indicators. If you go into our constitution as the regional secretary, you're coordinating all the various departments. For example, if it's a corporate organization, you have the public relations department, accounting. It's you, the CEO, the way you coordinate them to get results. That's you're measured by, which is your KPI. And I am applying that to the political party. I did that and all that. Presidential staffer, I did my bit. I did not contest again as regional secretary. I believe that 8 years is okay for somebody to take over. I've seen a gap at the national level that the party must be managed effectively. And I also believe that every season has its own unique leaders. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be the only person who can be able to do it. But when I'm actually favored by the delegates and the vote for me, I believe that we're all going to work together to achieve that. That's my...
So this is the time to bring up that conversation, and it's come up so many times. You've put up a defense to it, and many say that as General Secretary of the party, going into the 2024 elections, you'd be on that track if elected, going on the campaign spree and defending the track record of the Akufo-Addo administration. Yes. He's made a key promise, putting his government on the line for fighting illegal mining. I'm sure that you've heard that. Many say that giving your role in the party towards that, you may not be the right person to lead that charge because it will definitely come up and stare you in the face. What would you say to such people?
We failed in our quest to actually the Galamsey fight?
Well, the Minerals Commission is telling us, for instance, that we're still seeing remnants of such activities in the country.
You see, okay.
Right.
When the president set up the Interministerial Committee, there was a mandate. The mandate falls under sanitization and restructuring.
Right.
Sanitization was when the two-year ban was there. 4,500 people were trained. And then we actually vetted all the licenses, I think 1,350 of them. That was the mandate. That fell under the sanitization bit. Following that, it was an ad hoc committee comprising of 10 ministries. And if it's ad hoc, playing with that word, then it means that it's not going to be perpetual. Then it means that you move to the various ministries. Right. After we did all that, the roadmap came up, which I led a team of professors to do that. And then it traveled from there. And then eventually, the Lands Ministry is leading that. The things that we put in place, I think during my time, you realize that Cobra River was, it became clean and all that. All these things are we are at the restructuring stage. At the restructuring stage, you do not want to see, you're not going to get results immediately. If you want to get results within a year, 2 or 3, then you should be able to collect data and say that the devastation was done for about 10 years. Then you can use that to measure. But we do not know when it started. Galamsey has been with it from time immemorial. So you cannot measure that. The only thing you can do is actually monitoring and supervising that the things that you've put in place are actually working well. And that's the only way to go. And then also, I remember we came up with the Galam Stop, which actually throws the application processes. Right. And then it gets to the point where once you ascertain where the concession is, and then it is married to a certain document, there's somebody there looking after it.
But all of this was targeted at stopping illegal mining.
Yes.
But you haven't delivered on that as a political
that's
party.
What I'm saying, that it can't be a year or 2. Because let me use, if you go to the United Kingdom, River Thames.
So you didn't, are you implying that you didn't have enough time to deal with the problems?
No. Let me answer it. If you go to the United Kingdom, River Thames, it took them 25 years to get where it is now. So I do not know how long it took for it to be destroyed because it was filthy then, and then 25 years it got to where it is. What we did was that the mandate given to the Interministerial Committee under sanitization and restructuring was done. It was handed over to the Lands Ministry. They are into community mining. One of the things that would deter people from going into illegal mining, because hitherto you go to Minerals Commission and you're not able to get access to a license, EPA delays, bureaucracy and all that. Have we taken them out? Yes, I believe so. So people have access now. Community mines have been established. So those who are actually mining illegally will be. So gradually, you're actually formalizing those who are actually working informally and illegal.
So you are telling your side of the story, but if today were to go to the Ghanaian voter, the average Ghanaian voter, and put the issue of illegal mining as key in the election campaign for 2024, do you feel that the people of Ghana will renew the mandate of the NPP?
The thing, yes, and I'll correct the thing that the president said that he's putting his presidency on the line. That was a figure of speech that I'm going to...
He didn't mean that?
No. He meant it.
Yeah, he placed his presidency on the line.
No. If you say he meant it, then it means that he was going to resign. But if I say that, there are expressions that I'll put my life on the line for this. Doesn't mean that you're going to kill yourself. No, the president was saying that I'm going to ensure that it is done. It is a figure of speech. Let's situate that. 2, going forward, if where we are now, you're saying that we're going to the voters to ask for votes and then we failed. You need to go, I will go, and that's the message in it, coupled with data, to say that when we started, there were 135 mining concessions. Now, we've vetted them. Out of that, the 135 are working well. We've increased it to 2,000. The 2,000 were doing well. But then after a while, we realized that other people, so this is where we have fell short. We're going to, so you need to communicate and think that, because if I am a voter and you're a voter, and I come to lie to you, it means that I am insulting your integrity. You understand? So when you're going to speak to the person, you put yourself in the situation where you want that person to be.
And that's what you're seeking to do. So finally, as we wrap up, what will be your message to party faithful who are watching and those who may be delegates as well, waiting for July, the date for the national conference to make their decision?
Okay, so I said that the party is an efficient party. It needs to be managed effectively. I'm coming before them with my message as to how the party can be managed effectively. And if it's going to be managed effectively, it doesn't have to be me alone. I think we all have to work together to break the 8, which is a slogan. But it's just doesn't have to be word of mouth. We need to actually action it. How do we action it? By coming together. And I also would want us all not to look at money. Because if we're voting because of the money we take today, then we're actually selling our future, that of our children's future and our children's future, and that of Ghana as well. Because if we're saying we're the best political party in this country, and as well as the oldest, I do not believe that our forefathers who left this party, bequeathed this party to us, went the way of actually taking money and doing things their own way. The mandate given to you and as an officer of the party is to elect correct leaders, or leaders who are strong and assertive to lead. You know, I keep saying that when you, if not just within MPP, sometimes when I went around and campaigned for the party, there are people within the community who say that if you're not giving money, I'm not going to vote for you. And I say that then you're doing a disservice to your community, because you know the universal adult suffrage. You must be 18 years of sound mind to vote. So it means that those who are not of sound mind and the kids cannot vote. So it means that they've entrusted their future into you. It means that the vote is not yours. It is for the community that has been entrusted in you. So if you go and then actually take money and then vote otherwise, then you've done a disservice. And then I believe that when I spoke to people, I actually clicked their conscience, and I'm just going to go there as a genuine person.
Presenting yourself.
And then we take it from there.
Charles BCU, I'm grateful for your time here on The Pulse, and you're still with us here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after this break. We'll talk about the National Hajj Board. There's a lot happening there. Please stay with us. And welcome back to The Pulse. Now, a group of aggrieved pilgrims are protesting against a decision by the Pilgrimage Affairs Office of Ghana to impose further charges on persons seeking to travel to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for this year's Islamic rituals. Now, according to the group, it will be unfair for the National Hajj Board to take an additional 7,000 Ghana cedis for travel arrangements, when indeed the board promised to keep fares at some 19,500 Ghana cedis, which is equivalent to some $3,500, due to the inability of prospective pilgrims to make their journeys over the past 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Isa Ali speaks for that concerned group. So he's joining me in studio to actually explain the concern of the group to us. And he understands quite a lot that's happening even within some of the Muslim communities. So he would explain all of that to us here on The Pulse. Isa, it's a good time to be talking to you here on The Pulse. So let's first of all understand what goes into the arrangement, travel arrangements for persons who make the travel to Mecca for your holy month, or I mean as part of your rituals, Islamic rituals. So what does it really, what's the process like, I mean, as it used to, going for the Hajj?
Yes, thank you very much, and also to you and your viewers. Yes, actually, we all know that going to Mecca or the pilgrimage or Hajj is part of one of the secret pillars of Islam, especially for those who can afford. If you cannot afford, it is not compulsory upon you to go to Hajj. And also, it is incumbent upon everybody performing Hajj to ensure that the monies that you are going to use, it must be pure. I mean, you cannot use inappropriate resources obtained from other illegitimate sources to embark on your Hajj. It's not acceptable. That's why at the national level, even global level, countries have taken keen interest into it. So it is in order that we have a national Hajj board in place, where previous governments have been constituting the boards to effectively, organize Hajj to ensure that those previous sufferings don't take place. You know, some years back, pilgrimage have to go to the Hajj board, spend sleepless nights. Even people will have to travel from far away in the northern region, within the Middle Belt, to come to Accra. You know, they suffer a lot. So as part of those challenges, efforts were put in place to ensure that at least Ghanaian Muslims should have free Hajj. They should be able to perform the Hajj effectively. And in terms of what goes into it, we all know that the aspect of airfare in it, the aspect of accommodation, the aspect
and
of
that's
feedings,
where this whole challenge is coming up, particularly with the issue of the cost build-up. Initially it was 19,500 Ghana cedis, right? That was over the past 2 years period. That was what the Hajj board was taking?
Yes. So
19,500.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but if you convert into dollars, you'll be getting some
3,500. Okay.
See, what we need to understand is that in the year 2020, there was this pandemic whereby Hajj was cancelled. But people have already deposited money into the Hajj board's account. So, knowing the challenges, it is not the doing of the pilgrimage or, the Ghanaians, it is a natural pandemic that happens. And interestingly, there was a communique which was signed, I think, on June 20th, 2021. It's available, which states that, that agreement, or let me use the word communique, has 4 clauses. Only 4 provisions, and which we know that within the Hajj sector, we have 3 main stakeholders in there. We have the Hajj board at one angle. We also have the Hajj agents, that is the agent associations, they are also there. Then we have citizens who have decided to pay directly to the Hajj board. So all these constitute, they are the key stakeholders in there. So if I want to pay, I can pay directly. So in this case, it has 4 clauses. And it was understood, it is clearly written that, okay, 1, if you pay directly and you need your money, you can just apply. The Hajj board will give you
back your funds.
Will refund the money to you. That was in 2020. And again, if you also made your deposit through the Hajj agents, as soon as you need your money, you can apply for it to be given to you. So that's the first 2. And the last 2 also clearly state that if you have paid, but you're still interested, you want to perform Hajj in 2022, you are exempted from paying any other charges.
That was on record.
Oh yes, it's on record.
You've come with the records.
I can read it to you.
Okay, so we'll try and as you work on that. This was the initial promise from the Hajj board.
Yes.
How come that they are asking for the extra 7,000? Do we know what's accounting for the variations?
Actually, the information available to us is that some taxes have been increased in the kingdoms, so they are also trying to take that measures. It's actually interesting because, one, there's an agreement in place. As a government agency or department or board, you have already assured those who have paid already. So I'm expecting that the new charges should apply to those who are interested, who want to perform Hajj this year, and they want to pay this year. But those who have paid already, you've already promised them that there is no need. They will not be paying any amount of money. But even when you look at the pandemic, actually, government has been able to document all the sectors that has been affected by COVID. So we expect that with the caliber of board members at the Hajj board, we expect that by now they should have taken all those measures.
Okay, so you're also making a new allegation about non-transparent, the non-transparent nature of the Hajj board. Is that what you're driving at?
It goes up. It's not only about the non-transparent, but I can see inefficiency in their operations. Because if you are operating actually as the chair of the Hajj board, we expect that at least you should have the foresight. There's a pandemic in place. You should know that definitely.
After 2 years, the money would depreciate. So possibly, right?
You are now coming with the aspect of depreciation.
Right. Okay.
Even though in Islam, I mean, it's not acceptable to go to Hajj with a proceed of, let's say, profit. If you deposit money, there's a interest accrued.
Oh, okay. So it's purely religious.
It's not that it's religious.
Right.
You are not acceptable. But others too are saying that why should we even keep the money as at that level? You understand me? And people pay the equivalent of the foreign currency. So are you saying that the foreign currency too is depreciating? At what level? So what we are saying is this: since they have paid the money, has been deposited with the Hajj board, and you've assured them, because any leader, any board should be able to know that this year, if, for instance, there's a tax policy this year, definitely in the coming year, the government will change. This is known. So what happened? Is it that the board are not efficient? Is it not they've gone to sleep? I mean, even look at the period. We now have 11 days to the first flight. That is the first flight flying from Tamale to the kingdom.
And that's due in how many days?
We are talking about 11 days now.
So that's quite close in terms of the number of days.
That's what we are saying. It will be unfair on the part of the Hajj board to refuse those who paid, who are supposed to perform their Hajj in 2020. You should allow them to go. So we are calling upon government at least to ensure that the right thing is done.
Have you made several attempts to reach out to the Hajj board? I'm sure this is supposed to be a government institution that will have people willing to listen to you, and they most of them also belong to your faith as well, so they understand what the requirements may be. Have several attempts been made to engage them?
Thank you. You see, there's one thing that we have been calling for: consultations. The key partner, or let me say the first line partner to the Hajj board, is the Hajj agents. I believe that if effective consultations has been done with the organized Hajj agent, they are organized. If you cannot reach those who pay directly, it's understandable. But the agreement that I was talking, the communique, was jointly signed between the Hajj board, which was represented by Honorable Sheikh Isikwe.
Okay, and the agents.
The agents.
So the agents signed on behalf of the pilgrims.
On behalf of the agents.
So a lot of pilgrims may not necessarily be aware of even what's going on now. Is there a possibility?
It's possible, but it's possible. But normally, as at this time, most of them majority are aware, because some of us we even pay for others to perform the Hajj. Right. So definitely they are aware of these challenges. But it is going to increase their suffering. It is going to increase their budget, because the time is so short. And we believe that if consultations has been done in advance, this information has been shared earlier, it won't happen. But I don't even understand a board. I believe they have a legal advisor. Knowing that there's a signed communique, they will now turn their back to demand additional 7,000. How do you expect them to raise it? How? This is not fair. We believe that government has put all the necessary structures in place to alleviate all sectors facing challenges as a result of
because we need to go, you have just 11 days to do something, and not even the 11 days, because you have less than 11 days to try and effect the changes that you're calling for, the fact that the 7,000 Ghana cedis doesn't need to be charged. So from now till that deadline, what do you intend to do as those who are aggrieved? Are you taking any legal options? Is that possible? Is that also on the table?
Yeah, I know, as I stated earlier, we have different stakeholders in there.
This, right.
The Hajj associations have their, options, and also as citizens too, we also have our options. But we believe that, yes, this is part of awareness creation that we are doing to call the attention of government and also citizens to ensure that the right thing is done. We believe that, yes, government can do it. We believe that they can do the right thing by at least absorbing the additions. And it's not
all the 7,000?
Yes, the 7,000.
All the 7,000?
Yeah, we believe it's possible. Because it's not the doing of the pilgrimage, those who have paid. It is up to government to cough that money and pay.
All right then. Isa Ali, thank you for joining us. Now, Asante Ineo Tunfose to the second this morning joined dignitaries, including some other stakeholders, as well as the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah and Mayor of Kumasi, Sampine, to plant trees to mark this year's Green Ghana program before the symbolic tree planting exercise. Tunfo, in the company of her daughter, inspected some similar trees that were planted in previous exercises. Among those inspected included those of the late Asante Hima as well, and some other persons who planted trees. There's more in the following report for you.
From Benin and Togo competing in this year's tournament. And we are also privileged to have in our midst the sponsors, the key sponsors. We have Vodafone team here, led by Tawa Bula, perfect. And then we have Mike Philip Uredu, also leading the car bank team. We've seen Frank also here, always supporting us as far as car bank is concerned, and a host of others. This morning's ceremony is going to be a very brief one. As we have just witnessed, we have seen the flag-raising ceremony. We will leave here and then have some photographs with the sponsors and the key identifiable groups. And then we will tee off for 2 holes only for today. Your Majesty, if you permit, hole 1 and 7 only. And then that will be it for the formal opening of the 65th Asante Hene Open. So on this note, we want to welcome especially Otunfo and all of you to really participate in this event. Thank you.
Well, you're still here with us on The Pulse, and Challenging Heights, a child-focused non-governmental organization, says 60% of all children actually in the country obviously have a lot of roles to play, including doing issues relating to fishing along communities, and also the Lake Volta, where issues of child labor is on the rise. This, they say, is reinforced by the COVID-19 situation, extreme poverty in these areas as well. There's more in the following report.
The report interviewed 2,999 children, made up of 1,732 males and 1,250 females. The study took place in 5 districts of the Lake Volta areas, namely Kratchi East and West municipalities in the Oti region, Pando district in the Volta region, Pro district in the Bunu East region, and Central Gonja district in the Savannah region. The overall research took 3 months between March and May 2022 to complete. The children interviewed were divided into groups between 5 to 9 years, 10 to 14 years, and 15 to 17 years in line with the ILO and UNICEF categorizations. Chief Executive Officer of Challenging Height, James Kofi Annan, says poverty and hardships in these times have made the situation worse.
We interviewed children who were working both on the lake at the time of our interview and children who were not on the lake. That's why we're able to capture more girls, because when you capture only those who are working on the lake at the time of your interview, you will get much more boys, because it's the boys that work on the lake itself.
Mr. Kofi Annan believes that the increased numbers of child labor could be connected to the impact of COVID-19, as both the ILO and UNICEF indicated that the global pandemic resulted in higher numbers of child laborers. He wants government to step up efforts in resourcing agencies and departments in order to help end situations such as these.
There's the urgent need for whatever it takes for us as a country to remove children who are in child labor situations and place them in schools and support them in order to remain in schools. Because the evidence in this report shows, and the evidence in other reports also shows, that when children are in school, they don't fall victims to child labor. Communities and especially women's livelihoods have been eroded. And therefore, we are calling for increased support, both financial, capital, everything, to support women especially, to improve upon their income levels and livelihoods so that they don't become vulnerable. Because evidence shows that the more vulnerable women are, the higher the chances of children falling victims to child labor. We also want the laws on child labor to be enforced, especially the Children's Act. The Children's Act 1998, the provisions that talks about child labor, including Section 87 up to Section 90, to be enforced.
Mr. Annan says there is urgent need for affected children to be removed from child labor situations and placed in safe spaces such as schools, vocational and skills education, and any other developmental program that will guarantee their safety and their future.
We are calling on government to adequately fund state institutions that are mandated to fight against child labor, and they include the Child Labor Unit of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. They also include the Human Trafficking Secretariat of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. They include the Anti-Human Trafficking Unit of the Ghana Police Service, who also work to support issues of child labor.
Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
To support.
And now the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund is asking the government of Ghana to rescind its decision to proceed with its intended plans to mine bauxite in the Eduma landscape. In 2018, the government of Ghana signed a deal with the People's Republic of China that involves hydropower company Sino-Hydro building infrastructure across Ghana through a loan which will be repaid with receipts from Ghana's refined bauxite. Now, Eduma Forest Range Reserve is earmarked as one of these sources of the raw materials. However, speaking at a news conference on the sidelines of a biodiversity conference here in Accra for some West African civil society groups and organizations working in the Guinean Forest region, Oliver Lingrad, the executive director for the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, says that the Ghanaian authorities are pursuing a short-term gain instead of benefiting immensely from the Eduma landscape.
Question, and this question about the exploitation of some very important biodiversity-rich area like Eduma Forest in Ghana is not a unique situation, unfortunately, that is limited to Ghana. We have seen it in many other places. I think that the message to the government of Ghana is to realize the importance of these natural forests as important reservoir for biodiversity. And this biodiversity is not only important for intrinsic value, but also for the ecosystem services that this forest is providing to a very large number of people. If you look at Atiwa Forest, there are many different rivers coming out of this forest. If you cut down the forest, not only you lose biodiversity, but you lose these essential ecosystem services that Atiwa Forest is providing. And who's going to provide this freshwater water that is needed by the communities, and by people living in urban centers, once these rivers sources have dried out. So that's a very important issue, and I'm afraid that it's a short-term profit that is taking over the long-term view of the economic development of a country. So natural capital needs to be managed, for the long run, and we should not, authorize illegal logging or illegal mining in important biodiversity areas that are essential for the communities and for people at large. So I think that I would certainly urge the government of Ghana to reconsider the degazettement of Atiwa and making sure that it's managed for the long run for the essential ecosystem services that this forest provides. A local organization, Arosha, is based in Atiwa Forest, is working very closely with the forestry department to try and find solution. But at the end, it's the government that will decide, what is the future of Atiwa. And I sincerely hope that they will, look at the importance of it and will change their mind regarding this, the decision that they are about to take.
Well, so as we speak, that conference has come to an end, and obviously there's a need for us to look at what the outcomes are and what it is that civil societies across the country need and also across the West Africa sub-region need in expanding their activities in preserving our forests. Joining me now is Ruth Akagu, Small Grants Manager at BirdLife International. It's such a great time to be talking to you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's been a very daunting task managing all of the civil society groups from West Africa over a 4-day period. We know that there's a conference that happened here in Accra. What inspired that conference, and what are some of the outcomes that we're arriving at?
Actually, we've been working with the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund in the West African region for like 6 years now. And the project is focused on working with civil societies that are working on the ground with communities. And we looked at 4 strategic directions. The one was to try to work with landscape and land use tenure to protect biodiversity. The second one was to safeguard threatened species. Right. The third was to try to mainstream what we call biodiversity conservation into private and public sector. Right. And the fourth one was to work with civil society to build their capacity to be able to do what they are doing better. And for the 4 days, we had to come together to tell ourselves, how far have we gone? What are the lessons learned? And how do we move from here to the next step in terms of protecting what we have, our natural resources and the biodiversity that we all depend on. Right. So that was the objective of the workshop for the past 4 days.
Indeed, and many are asking if it is the case that if you look at the Guinean forest region, is it the case that, a lot of forest reserves are being depleted, and that's why such meetings are crucial for you to explore ways by which you can preserve it?
I would say yes and no, but it's actually working with the civil society to ensure that we mitigate the effect. The effect. Of course, you've heard of climate change and all of that, but it's an ongoing thing. It's a continuum. So getting the civil society able and capacitated to be able to continually protect it is the aim of the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, which BirdLife International is helping to support, achieve that.
And for many who are asking about the essence of the civil society groups in maintaining our forest reserve, what would you say to such a person?
Sorry?
Because if you look at the group, CSOs and these groups, I mean, mostly working in the background. You don't see them outrightly, maybe in the media and all of that, talking about what it is that they do to contribute in preserving our forests. What would you say to such a person who walks up to you and say, after all, what's the essence of the civil society groups?
Well, I would tell them, I wish you knew.
Right.
Because that's also one thing we realize, that the civil society are doing a lot of work in the background, and this is not known, but it's like you don't know how it takes to get rain coming down for those that are a bit ignorant of that. So I would use it as a case of the civil society. They're doing quite a lot. And one of such cases is what we now saw that even this workshop should be able to help us achieve, trying to make them put their work out there so that they will get more support and know what they're doing in the background. We don't want them to stay in the background anymore.
Right.
We want them to come out and tell the world that this is what we're doing in terms of protecting our natural resources. And without our work or the work of the civil society, there's a whole lot that climate change will hit at us. So that's what I would tell whosoever asks me.
Is asking you that question. And of course, for the critical fund that we're talking about here, how many civil society groups, for instance, did you work with? And what are some of the impact stories, some of the accounts that you're getting from the activities?
Across the West African region, which has 11 countries we worked with, from Côte d'Ivoire down to Equatorial Guinea, the island of Sao Tome and Principe. We also have Ghana, obviously, Nigeria, we have Sierra Leone, we have Guinea. All of these countries worked either specifically on some of the strategic direction, and what they have achieved is quite enormous. I'll take an example from one of the CSOs in Ghana, Resource Trust Network. They worked with farmers to help keep what we call buffer zones in a protected area. And the buffer zone is needed for protected area so that those areas that are kept protected are protected because of the intrinsic value we derive from that. And now we don't just stop there, we also try, the civil society worked with the community farmers to ensure that they have value for what the farm. So they help them to improve their farming system, as well as add more income generating activities like training them in bee farming. And they didn't just stop at training, they provided them with equipment to be able to farm the bees and get premium honey.
So it's more about conservation.
More of conservation and also livelihood improvement.
And since we're talking about country specifics, we're in Ghana, for instance, one of the critical issues that came up, as we've heard from the press conference, about the Etiwa landscape, for instance. Why is it so crucial for governments, not just in Ghana, but across the, is it the Guinean forest region, to try as much as possible to conserve some of these strategic areas? Is there some economic benefit to it? Because every country is seeking to develop. So if you're not getting money from keeping your forest, then why not sell it off?
Yes, and that is what we really trying to get people to understand. Trying to put value to the ecosystem services that is provided. Most times it's a daunting task for us to make the government of this country see that there's a whole lot that you would gain from protecting this area. Like Olivia mentioned, you're talking about river. You really need to think through it. If you're going to create a road past where you have stream that the whole community is depending on, the question is, what alternative have you given them? How would they survive without that stream or river or whatsoever you're trying to? So it's encouraging for government to really sit down. We are not saying that there will be no development. And mind you, when we say conservation, it's not totally going off keeping that area. It's to sustainably work with what you have and not deprive your citizen of the ecosystem benefit that they get from the natural environment.
Let's talk about the future finally, which obviously would bring the issue about supporting civil societies to continue to do what it is that they do in supporting, preserve our forest areas. And the issue about funding has often come up as to how critical it is in supporting some of the CSOs, because some of the CSOs are working in a non-profit context. So how do you intend to support these organizations some more in doing their work?
On our part, like you say, working in the background,
right.
we will try to ensure we get funding to continue on what we're doing. But on the part of the state government of these countries we're working with, you remember I mentioned that one of our strategic direction is to mainstream biodiversity into a public-private sector. Right. So what we are asking is that the government of these countries should try to also have a budgetary allocation that will focus on conservation and biodiversity protection as well as conservation as a whole. We're talking about natural resource management, and it is something that should be at the forefront of any government in any country.
And for instance, here in Ghana, we're doing the Green Ghana Agenda. It's a laudable initiative, I guess.
Yes, it is.
You will expect more from government, or?
Yes, we will. We are always expecting more from government, and we are hoping that it's time we come and sit at the round table and make a way forward that will benefit everybody, especially for the natural resources that God has given all of us to manage.
And you can see the beauty on your screens right now from the forest areas, how green it is. But of course, that's where we need to wrap up our conversation for now. Thank you so much, Ruth Akago, for joining us. We'll return shortly.
In the course of 3 years, the Political Communication Wing of the Department of Communication GIJ has been successful at executing a simulation exercise geared towards building resilient student communicators by shaping their understanding of nuanced political discourses, activities, theories, and concepts. These events have churned out seasoned winners like Youth Congress's Patrick Abesini, Social Democratic Party Samira Mohammed, New Democratic Alliance's Edem Vine Tutu, Populist Inclusive Party's Abdullah Isaka. This year, the stakes are higher and the rivalry on a different level. 10 parties will battle it out all in one day. Who gets the exclusive rise as champions of the 3rd edition of the political campaign competition? Is it the Unified Democratic Party, the National Socialist Congress, the Socialist Development Party, the Democratic Socialist Party, the Pragmatic Development Party, the United People's Party, the True Democrats Alliance, the Liberalist Socialist Party, the New Development Party, or the Liberal Democratic Party? Mark your calendars and come and witness this quintessential showdown of political will, grit, intelligence, creativity, passion, and patriotism on the 11th of June 2022 at the GIJ Forecourt Ringway campus at 3 p.m. sharp. Be there.
Summarizes what we're about to talk about next. All you know about is the NDC and the NPP, but how about these political parties on campus as well? And there's a need for us to talk to some of the persons who are, of course, joining in that exercise. Mohammed Shabram is with the Pragmatic Development Party, and then Obed King Gaglo is with the Socialist Development Party. Sounds more like an NDC party, but anyway. But anyway, it's still good. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio. So, who do I start with? Okay, definitely. The Socialists, they like to talk about a lot of things. So, tell us about your expectation going into this exercise. We know that it's not necessarily a strict political context, but it's for academic purposes, yes, so it's part of your course requirements. So, how excited are you going into this exercise?
Well, it's a big opportunity for all of us as students, but for some of us, we think it's an opportunity to sell ourselves, to sell our party. Probably very soon, this is going to give us a big opportunity, and that is where people are going to see us. But as Pragmatic Development Party, you know, the name pragmatic itself, representing proactiveness, doing something that would help develop the country. Of course, we've seen a lot of challenges with regards to the country I live in now. We believe that with Pragmatic Development Party, we could bring a lot of change, making sure that with pragmatic means, we would take it to a different level, developing the country and then changing the economy. So, of course, even though it's a stimuli, we want to put in more effort and prove to Ghanaians that, of course, we've come to stay, and then very soon people will hear from us.
Okay, we're on the verge of getting a third force in the country, but let's see what your party also has to offer.
Right, so thank you very much. So the Socialist Development Party is a party that believes in the ideals of socialism. We believe that socialism is the way to go. When you look at some developed countries, basically they practice socialism. And so our party believes that capitalism is good. However, we believe that a liberal socialist front will help Ghana move forward. So the document you have with you is the UNI Manifesto.
Okay, I guess let me give that to you so you can market your own document.
Spells out our policies that we have for Ghana. And when you go through, one of our biggest policies that there should be free primary health care for all Ghanaians.
Why not free SHS?
Yes, free SHS is already in place. We have a position on free SHS as well. We believe that, yes, free SHS is good. However, I believe that those who can pay should pay. Because really, we live in a society where some have and some do not have. So those who have the means should just pay.
But then beyond that, you believe that there's the time for health?
Yes, it's time for health. We believe that there is inequality in terms of health provision in Ghana. For a sound mind, you must live in a healthy body. And so we believe that a free primary health care is something that Ghanaians need, and that the Socialist Development Party
would need to do something about that. So that's your icon there on the screens. But I'm sure that your group also is coming up with some point plans and whatever it is that you're putting across. What's that message?
Yes, whilst others are coming with capitalist or socialist, we've combined capitalist and socialist ideology together.
Wonderful.
Yes, because we believe that in other way, there's a way you can develop it. And we've looked at the problem of the country. We've realized that even though capitalist is helping, socialist is helping, when we combine these two forces together, we are going to get the best for the country, and the development that we need, we would actually get for the country. And then our manifesto is named the Hope Manifesto, and our presidential candidate, I'm the running mate, our presidential candidate, Believe, and then she's leading the Hope Manifesto. We are looking at agriculture, and our focus is that we need to stop importing outside and focus on we getting our own and also improving our agriculture sector. And so we have to force in, do a lot of work and minimize importing of goods outside. And that alone can help us keep our money and improve the economy. Health sector, we want to get a lot of hospitals for the people. We need to improve on our health sector, and that is another angle. And one of our challenges is the policy as to our security challenges. We also want to improve security in the country, and that when we come in power, we are going to recruit a lot of people on board to come and help improve the security of our country. So we are coming to give more employment to the people, and so we want the people to actually vote for pragmatic development.
Now I'm beginning to think that probably I'll get some fresh employment, but let's see how that will go. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I'm sure that you're just seeing the first two. In fact, we have some more groups coming through with a more juicy package. But let's see. I don't know what they have to offer. But for those of you who are not aware about this political competition, here's a wrap for you.
Over the course of 3 years, the Political Communication Wing of the Department of Communication GIJ has been successful at executing a simulation exercise geared towards building resilient student communicators by shaping their understanding of nuanced political discourses, activities, theories, and concepts. These events have churned out seasoned winners like Youth Congress's Patrick Abesini, Social Democratic Party Samira Mohammed, New Democratic Alliance's Adam Vine Tutu, Populist Inclusive Party's Abdullah Isaka. This year, the stakes are higher and the rivalry on a different level. 10 parties will battle it out all in one.
Time now for gender balance. I'm sure that you're expecting a woman to turn up. She's here, so I'll allow her to introduce herself very briefly.
My name is Martina Najama Odoi, the flag bearer of the True Democrats Alliance.
Wow. True
Democrats Alliance.
Alliance. What are you bringing on board?
Okay, so we believe in social democracy, in the sense that we are joining but socialism, and then we understand and we believe in democracy, where the government of the people is with the people. And we understand that so far our country has been left in the hands of almost retrogressive leadership, and we'd want to actually start from the grassroots, where we want them to know that we not only understand them, but we actually are like them, and we know that so far our government right now feels like the man who has 100 Ghana cedis should be okay. That is how they are making them feel. So we want them to know that someone who has 100 Ghana cedis is not only okay, but should be helped, so that policies that can be in place to make Ghana great again is what the True Democrats Alliance is.
Interesting. So how are you starting?
So if the mandate is given to us, we have policies like better primary health care, where those we know that, because we know in the society we have classes. So I can't expect a man who earns more than 2,000 Ghana cedis to pay for the same hospital bills of somebody who earns below. So we want to say that if the person has that, okay, he can afford, then he affords maybe the surgery. We know that surgery goes all up, but the primary health care goes along for the average Ghanaian. And then we'd also want to eradicate schools under trees. You know, our government started something like schoolsundertrees.com eradication, but they didn't really follow up. So we'd want to revamp that so people can actually put some sort of like, you know, GoFundMe there, and then we help that. Also, we already have schools in the system. They built so many schools. So we'll just go back to those buildings and make sure that they come back to help. And then agriculture too is a very big part for us as my country. Thank you.
And you would only get that from Amagana. But let's hear from your group as well.
Yeah, so my name is Edward Kanzori. I'm representing the Unified Democratic Party, UDP.
UDP?
Yeah.
So if you say UDP, how do you respond?
Yazuya Chigaba.
Wow, wonderful. Wonderful. So tell us about your plans.
Yeah, so our party believes in progressivism. We believe that in this country, if we have to move, we need to develop our science, we need to develop mathematics, we need to look into technology. And so we believe that as a government, or as a party that is in waiting to form a government, the next government, if we are given the mandate, these are the areas we are going to look at. You cannot agree more with me that in today's world, everything is driven by technology. And so that is where we have to get to before if we want to develop this country. So we have to invest more in technology. We have to invest in science. We have to invest in mathematics. We have to invest in technology.
So what's that priority for your group then?
We are developing science and technology.
That's where you're starting from. That's our biggest problem?
I think that is a challenge that when it's solved, it will tackle the agricultural problems. It will tackle the economy. It will tackle the educational sector. And more importantly, to tackle the health sector. And so when we develop STEM in this country, you realize that it is more like interconnected. So once we develop STEM, it means that all parts of the economy is going to get to be fixed in, and then we move forward as a country.
Okay, so that's it for now. And Edward, thank you for joining us. In fact, we have a new set coming through, and we'll do that right after now.
Over the course of 3 years, the Political Communication Wing of the Department of Communication GIJ has been successful at executing a simulation exercise geared towards building resilient student communicators by shaping their understanding of nuanced political discourses, activities, theories, and concepts. These events have churned out seasoned winners like U Congress's Patrick Abesini, Social Democratic Party Samira Mohammed, New Democratic Alliance's Edem Vine Tutu, Populist Inclusive Party's Abdullah Isaka. This year, the stakes are higher and the rivalry on a different level. 10 parties will battle it out all in one day. Who gets the exclusive rise as champions of the 3rd edition of the Political Campaign Competition? Is it the Unified Democratic Party, the National Socialist Congress, the Socialist Development Party, the Democratic Socialist Party, the Pragmatic Development Party, the United People's Party, the True Democrats Alliance, the Liberalist Socialist Party, the New Development Party, or the Liberal Democratic Party? Mark your calendars and come and witness this quintessential showdown of political will.
So the race is still on. Let's hear from 2 new gentlemen who are in the race as well. Let's start off with you.
Okay, my name is Ismail.
So what are you bringing on board?
We are going to build districts
warehouses. In every district, we're going to have a warehouse that we are going to use to store the foods that we have. We are thinking of exporting some of our foods out.
Right. So yours is just agriculture.
No,
you feel that's the biggest challenge we have, or how do you think it could help in solving our problems as a country?
So you see, day in, day out, when we went out there to get to know what the farmers really want, they said that most of their raw materials or the foods that they store are getting rotten, tomatoes and other.
Right.
So we need a place that we can store them, right? So that we can use some for the factory works, probably think of exporting them, do you understand? So we are going to make sure that every district in Ghana has a warehouse that.
Okay. We'll see about that. And for your group, I see that you're here even with your manifesto already.
Yeah. So my name is Opari Philip Joao Jr. Okay. I am the flag bearer of the National Socialist Congress. So the National Socialist Congress is a simulated political party that hinges on the ideals of socialism. So as you are aware, socialism is a political and economic theory that advocates that the means of production, the means of exchange, and then the means of distribution must be fairly be regulated or controlled by the state. So that is what we stand for. We are also a firm believer in probity, accountability, transparency.
Okay, I hope today is the 30th anniversary of the NDC. I hope you're not stealing their ideas.
No.
Probity.
Accountability, transparency, and equitable.
But that's yours. It's unique to just your party.
Yes.
Okay.
So on the 29th of April, 2022, we launched this document. That is the Eduma Manifesto, if you can see this.
Right.
Now, to us, fulfilling the provision in this manifesto means solving a chunk of the problems that we are facing as a country.
Right.
And so in this document, we have policies on education, on transportation, on agriculture, industrialization, and all that. So in terms of education, we want to prepare our students for the future workforce. And so with respect to that, we are going to introduce a syllabus that is based on cognitive competence, interpersonal
So your priority is education?
Not only education.
Right.
In terms of transportation, we want to reintroduce Ghana Airways. We want to reintroduce the Black Star Line.
Okay.
We also want to reintroduce a better railway sector in our country.
Impressive.
So, yes.
So you're hoping that you win the competition?
Surely we will win. We are a political party that has got the men.
Your colleagues are watching you.
Yes, we are a political party that has got the men.
Right.
I have the personality, I have the characteristics.
Right.
I'm not a poodle of any foreign power. And I believe that when Ghanaians give me the opportunity to lead them, we can solve the numerous challenges that we are facing.
You vote for him, right?
Oh, no, I'm not going.
You won't vote for him?
I think he's just talking. You have to show working.
That's
you
it.
said all this, but have you gone to the people?
No.
Are you united? I mean, relax.
No, listen. I've gone to the people. I understand.
We did that. We went out there.
No, but we also did that. We went to the people.
Obviously, that's a simulation for you. You have that a lot more on campus. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Well, for those of you who do not know about it, it's a simulated political exercise that's happening at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. And of course, you may want to take a look at this, and then we'll have the final set join us.
Over the course of 3 years, the Political Communication Wing of the Department of Communication GIJ has been successful at executing a simulation exercise geared towards building resilient student communicators by shaping their understanding of nuanced political discourses, activities, theories, and concepts. These events have churned out seasoned winners like Youth Congress's Patrick Abesini, Social Democratic Party Samira Mohammed, New Democratic Alliance's Adam Vine Tutu, Populist Inclusive Party's Abdullah Isaka. This year, the stakes are higher and the rivalry on a different level. 10 parties will battle it out all in one day. Who gets the exclusive rise as champions of the 3rd edition of the Political Campaign Competition? Is it the Unified Democratic Party, the National Socialist Congress, the Socialist Development Party, the Democratic Socialist Party, the Pragmatic Development Party, the United People's Party, the True Democrats Alliance, the Liberalist Socialist Party, the New Development Party, or the Liberal Democratic Party? Mark your your calendars and come and witness this quintessential showdown of political will, grit, intelligence, creativity, passion, and patriotism on the 11th of June 2022 at the GIJ Forecourt Ringway campus at 3 p.m. sharp. Be there.
You have to be there. Let's do the final round. Someone is here.
Yes, my name is...
Your Excellency.
Yes.
I'm adding Your Excellency to your name, so it tells you that...
It is hopefully manifesting.
Oh, wow, wonderful. So tell us about your plans.
My name is Mudafer Elias, the flag bearer for New Development Party.
Right.
We in the New Development Party believes in using the best of the two ideological poles, the socialism and then capitalism. So we call ourselves pragmatists.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, so that is our ideology. So we are marrying the two ideologies together, two major ideologies. So we are able to, make the best out of it. Whichever is best to apply at what point is what we
So what are you selling? What's your message, really?
Basically, we are looking at bringing a new form of development or new approach to the development of Ghana. And we have developed an 11-point plan, which you call the 11 Wonders. And we believe...
I hope it's not a football club.
Oh, no. There are actually 11 different plans that we believe are the challenges we have with our system. When these 11 areas are fixed, then of course all other sectors will come along. Then we have the utopia.
But what's number one on that list, and what's the priority?
It is governance, leadership, and sustainable democracy.
Wonderful.
So we believe for everything that we need to do as Ghanaians, when we have the right leadership, then everything would be perfect. Because it all has to do with decision making. If the leader is able to make the right decisions, then of course...
Are you winning?
Develops. I'm winning. That one is no doubt.
What's the margin?
I would take some 60 and give them 90.
And share the rest for them. But she disagrees with you. So, Priscilla, let's hear you on this.
Yes, I would definitely disagree with him. I would want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to actually come and then tell Ghanaians what is my feedback after several dialogues with them. My name is Priscilla Abnejapon, and I am the flag bearer for Liberal Socialist Party. Our party has already been liberated. And as a result of that, when we went into the people, they told us what they need. And we also sat with stakeholders and people that are intellectuals, and they have given us the best and the good decisions for us to go and then deliver. And so what we have on board, or what we are bringing on board, is Agenda 247. Agenda 247 is geared towards making the economy to run 24 hours without sleeping nor slumbering. And so, my good people, all the responses are here, which is Yen Hope Manifesto. Because
yours looks bigger.
Yes.
Right.
Because
is it because you have everything in there? You're solving all of Ghana's problems in
I
there?
tell you, because we cannot sit in a country whereby the economy is not stabilized, and yet other political parties would allocate huge sums of money into building other things that are not necessary. We do believe that the right thing must be done at the right time, and not the right thing being done at the wrong time. And so as socialists, we do have the mandate in what the people have given us, because equality is what we are concerned about. And so we have sustainability and equitable development.
That's
and
what you're
yes, that
going
is
in for.
Whatever thing that our people have decided on is what we have on board, and what we are going to actually deliver. So Agenda 247 is geared towards the fact that a good governance should be able to demonstrate a resilient economy in order to improve the living standards of the people.
In all
and
of
that
this,
is what
your
we actually have on board.
opponent says he's winning by 60%.
They are all lies. You see, these political parties, they only give words to people. And so red represents action. And that is what we are actually bringing to the people. Enough of the words, my people. The time is right for change. And number 8 on the ballot paper.
Let's see about that, the lady in red. But of course, for those of you who are not aware about this, it's simulated. And a lot will be happening on the GIJ campus. So you better be there. But here's a quick recap for you, for those of you who do not know about the competition.
3 years, the Political Communication Wing of the Department of Communication GIJ has been successful at executing a simulation exercise geared towards building resilient student communicators by shaping their understanding of nuanced political discourses, activities, theories, and concepts. These events have churned out seasoned winners like Youth Congress's Patrick Abesini, Social Democratic Party Samira Mohammed, New Democratic Alliance's Edem Vine Tutu, Populist Inclusive Party's Abdullah Isaka. This year, the stakes are higher and the rivalry on a different level. 10 parties will battle it out all in one day. Who gets the exclusive rights as champions?
Okay. So the last men standing, that's how I'm describing them. But they will tell you about their political parties.
Yes. So, my name is Osman Abubakar Sadiq. I'm the presidential candidate for the Democratic Socialist Party.
Why are you a socialist anyway?
I think the idea of socialism has been with us for quite a long time, and I think coming from a society where most of our people still lives in abject poverty and little representation in the political dispensation, I think socialism is the right ideology for political parties to advertise themselves to the ordinary Ghanaian. I mean, capitalism only deals with the elite class sort of, and communism and other types of political ideologies.
You don't think it's more about economic freedom as well?
No, if you want to do economic freedom, you look at the micro and macro underpinnings of the economic models. You cannot do economic models and look at only the elite class, people who have the means and resources to do business. You have to look at the people who are also not into business and people who are not having much to do when it comes to...
So how are you seeking to change that?
So the Democratic Socialist Party have key areas we want to look at. We have thematic areas. We want to look at ownership and control of our natural resources. We are looking at economic democracy, where we wouldn't have much high interest rates as we are currently witnessing, high inflation, high exchange rate, and all of that. The Democratic Socialist Party is coming up with ideas and policies in our Hope or Change manifesto that we have come to the people and we have prepared for them. And we are also going to limit the executive powers that the executive arm of government has.
So, for instance, you want the president's appointing powers to be reduced?
Exactly. If you look at Article 70, it's too excess for the president to appoint over thousands of Ghanaians into state institutions. Interestingly, the president appoints PROs of Ghana Gas Company.
So that's what you want to change?
I mean, we have to change this.
But how would that put food on the table?
So that would put food on the table because when you actually appoint people who are competent and people who are not politically aligned to you, you are giving jobs to people who are capable of doing it. And those people who in turn feed their families, which will in turn create a sustainable environment for these families.
You agree with him?
Yeah, I am Job, by the way.
Yeah.
The flag bearer for Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. I agree with my brother with some of the issues raised, and we are basically a liberalist party, social liberalist party. We believe in individual freedom. We believe that before you can progress, you need to be free to think, to take initiative on your own. There needs to be that environment that will allow you to be yourself without being bugged, as we witness in some part of our country. So on the issue of the president appointing most of government officers, we just think that it's so not right. And that breeds corruption because we've seen it. Many people have engaged in corruption, and because of their loyalty to the party, the party in power is unable to prosecute them. So when we come, we believe that most of these things will be changed, and we will actually make sure that the appointing power of the president of some of the MMDCs is taken and given to the people.
Oh, you're rather taking the powers of the MMDCs?
We will take the appointing power from the president
and give it to the people?
To the people, so that they elect their...
Yeah, but you're saying the MMDCs as well. You're taking
exactly. So the chief, the district assembly, the district chief executive officers, and then the municipal officers will make sure that that is changed. But one key thing is very important. We know that unemployment is on the rise in this country, and that has resulted to the insecurity that we've witnessed in recent times. Okay. So we believe that it's important to create jobs.
How many jobs are you creating?
So in our manifesto, which is the liberal roadmap, we are seeking to create 2 million jobs in our
Ghana.
first 4 years, in our first 10.
Are you sure you're not
Yes,
lying?
so let me tell you how we'll do it. So we have a project, which is the Sankofa initiative, and it is a cross-sectorial project, which is aimed at completing government-initiated projects, like the schools, the roads, and this...
How would that create a job?
Well, that's where I'm reaching to. So basically, it will ensure that, it will create some temporary jobs.
How would that create the jobs?
Okay. By just going back to start this project again, contractors will get employment, painters will get employment, plumbers will get employment, and aside that, these are temporary jobs. And then you come to completing this project, you get nurses, teachers to occupy these offices.
But your opponent doesn't seem to agree with you on
well, that is his opinion. But
Bless, if you could allow me to come in, because my friend has lost focus in.
No, but I mean, to be fair to him, he says he's creating.
No, my friend has lost focus.
He's creating 2 million jobs.
Before he would even come in, he has to chip in into what I have said.
No, but he's
taken part of
what he has. He says he's creating 2 million jobs.
So you asked me a question. Yeah. How is he going to do that? He's not be able to answer that. So I want to tell you that
I've been able to do that.
Okay.
In how
he says through the contracts.
Through contracts. Yeah. Contracts have always been awarded to people. So what are you going to do to create the jobs? Tell us that in agriculture, this is what you are going to do. In education, this is what you are going to do. In agribusiness.
So how different will you be from this?
In agriculture, we are looking at underpinning theoretical experience with practical experience, which will in turn create agri-entrepreneurs, which we call agri-businesses. These entrepreneurs will engage in agri-businesses who we have the common sense approach that we want to use in agriculture, which will create jobs for the youth. So, for instance, the youth who are into agri will be trained in specialized areas, and when they are out of these specialized institutions, they are able to create jobs.
So that's how you intend to tackle the issue of unemployment.
And my friend there clearly doesn't have a roadmap to that.
You feel he doesn't?
Well, he said he made some comments.
Okay, we need to go briefly.
I need to clarify because he interrupted. He actually said that I stole some of his ideas, but this manifesto was drafted before we came into this office. So if you look at chapter page 16 of our manifesto, and then you come to point governance, economic transformation. Okay, you realize we said we will create an enabling environment for private businesses to strive. And then if we come to point 2, we said that we will take the appointing powers of the president. Okay.
Yeah. But he says you've lost focus.
So this is not what he has. We have a different thing, and I just want to state that Ghanaians trust no other party than Liberal Democratic Party because we believe in your freedom. And we are number 10 on the ballot box. And for that matter, we said that it is Ghana's 10. So tomorrow, go out there and vote for number 10.
Okay, so what's your number, quickly?
Yes, so Osman Abubakar Sadiq is on number 4 on the ballot paper. So when you go tomorrow, just don't count the numbers. Just look for number 4 and vote for Osman Abubakar Sadiq.
We'll see how that
and
will
hope will be restored in this country.
Anyway, but we need to stress that this is all a simulation. The real action is happening on the GIJ campus. It's a GIJ political competition. You may want to be a part of that and also experience what's happening. But that's a wrap for us here on The Pulse on the Joy News channel. My name is Blessed Sogah. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more content there for you.